Hello everyone, so today we're going to be working on doing our explode technique for our set the table project. Here's an example of what the explode technique looks like. So it doesn't mean like explode things, but it means rather that the papers will be separated or exploded from each other. So here's an example of what our set the table project looks like, and you can see back here some of that example of what that explode technique looks like. There are some of you who are going to wind up doing a different version of this because maybe your table doesn't have a wood grain pattern. This is specifically for a wood grain pattern table, but if this is something you're interested in doing, this is how we do it. Alright, so first things first, you need to get two different sheets of paper, a darker color that you're going to wind up gluing things onto, and then your lighter color that'll be your color that shows on top. So if you're doing a classic wood color, your lighter tan and your darker brown underneath, the darker color will be the one that actually shows through in that separation. So you can see the darker color here. Okay, so what you're going to wind up doing is you're going to do between 7 and 11 lines. So between 7 and 11 lines, and those lines, here's our sticky note as a reminder, and those lines should be done in pencil. I'm going to do it in a marker so that you can see. And those lines are going to be on the same side. So half of the lines will be on this side and the other half will be on this side. So let's watch and see what that looks like. So starting on the one short side of my paper, connecting back to the other short side, I'm making a wiggly organic shape that goes about halfway over my table. And then about 2 fingers away from that first line, I'm going to make my next line. And I want those lines to not overlap each other. They're just very similar. They don't have to be exactly the same. And then again, 2 fingers away, I'll make my next set of lines. So I have 3 on that side, so I'll wind up doing 4 on this side to get me to my total of 7. Then again, starting from the top, going about halfway, and ending at the bottom. 2 fingers away again, following my curve, 2 fingers away again, and then I have just a little bit of room. Maybe it's not quite 2 fingers there, but try your best. So when we wind up doing this, you are going to cut this first largest section. Then you're going to cut the other side's largest section. Don't cut on your other lines, just your largest ones. And then we'll wind up gluing on this side. And what that allows us to do is that if you don't exactly cut perfectly, then that's totally fine because the cut sides, or the side that has the pencil marks, will actually be on the back. So let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and show you my finished example of what this looks like. So here is that cut out piece. Here are my pieces that I cut out from it. So I cut out the larger side and the first larger side, and I still have those sections, and we'll see what this looks like. So here is my side that has my pencil lines on it. I'm going to get my glue bottles. Remember, these glue bottles have a septum in the middle, so when you close it, make sure it goes down in there so it actually closes up. I'm going to flip over my glue, and I'm going to allow the gravity to pull down the glue, and I slowly count to about 5 in my head. Then the whole point of glue is that it's there to glue things. So you don't need that much in order to get the job done. So in our heads we go dot, dot, not a lot. Just like back in kindergarten, dot, dot, not a lot. So a little bit of glue will get the job done. I'm going around the edges, and then I'm ready to glue down. I'm going to flip this whole thing over, and because that we did the lines on one side and then the other, this will fit directly on our second sheet of paper. I'm going to bring this down, and now I'm a messy gluer, so you can see I have little glue bits sticking through. Not to worry, because this glue dries clear. So I'm pushing that down. Sometimes I'll even flip my paper over, and I'll kind of rub to make sure it's really well connected. And then flip it back, and at the end we can use a table sponge to wipe off our tables. So that is our first step. The next step would be to take your paper, so this one, this one will go on this side, and you're going to start to cut out your next section. So if I take this paper and I cut out my next section, I'm going to cut and then immediately glue on what I've cut. So cutting this part out, and I'm not going to cut on all of my lines, I'm going to cut and then glue. And remember, your cutting job doesn't have to be perfect because we're gluing on the side that has our pencil lines. So flip it upside down, allow the glue to come down, put your dot dot not a lot all around the edges, little dots of glue, and then flip it over. And again, you're doing that explode technique, so you don't want it right up next to each other. You want there to be a little bit of a gap. And yes, it is going to hang off of your paper, and when this is dry next week and we come back, we can trim those extra pieces off. Now that I have that glued down, I can come back and I can cut out my next piece. And so I'd continue this on until I'm finished with all of the lines that I've created, leaving a separation and a gap in between them. So I cut this out, I do my dot dot not a lot. See, even I have glue problems if I don't allow it to come down. Flip it over and glue it down. And then I do the last part by sticking it down just like that. And then on the other side, again, I'd cut and then glue and leaving that separation. All right, my friends, if you have any questions, let me know, but hopefully this helps. And here is the example of the finished product. You can see on the back that there are definitely pieces that are sticking off. So when this is all done and dry next week, I just come back right up along that edge and cut off my extra. So that's what we do. All right, guys.